It is Super Bowl Monday, so everybody's a bit tired, but we're here, we're working. This is start of episode 3. I'm excited. I'm not gonna show you inside, it's boring. Like, you've seen everything, you've seen the rough end, everything's good. Drywall doesn't start till tomorrow, so there's nothing to really talk about. But I want to talk about some fun stuff, some exterior finishing. Now, we've already got the roof on. We're gonna be talking a bit about siding, a bit about some stonework we're gonna be doing here. Rather than do that, let me just show you what the guys have been working on first, and then we'll get into it a bit. Boys are carrying the lap siding to the back here. Cam's working on making a bunch of cuts, and then Jesse's got a bunch of stuff hung. You can see it moves pretty quick once you get going on this stuff. It's a little bit finicky, and especially in the cold, it can break. But as long as you're careful and you got yourself set up properly, it goes pretty smooth. The guys have been at it for a day and a half now, and you can see how much is done. So when we're doing installs, we're obviously putting our soffit in first. We've got all our vents done. We're installing all of our freeze boards. So these are perimeter trim boards that we have to install to be able to butt into this. Now there is some metal trims you can buy for a more clean, more modern look. We're going very contemporary on this, so we're not going to be changing too much from the basic kind of install. We've had Hardy here walk through all the details and come up with a few different things to make sure that we've got everything the way we want it to. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about just window trim, outline details, things like that. So we're installing our edge trim, we're installing our window trim around our North Star windows, which we get from Aluminum Warehouse. I know they watch the channel. So there's their little plug. And then we've got our drip cap put on top of that to make sure that any water that does get behind gets kicked out. So we've got all that installed. And then after that, it's just a matter of filling in the square, so to speak. You can keep going, man. Don't worry. You're on this board?
Don't pull that off.
Don't pull it off? Oh, you hadn't tacked that one yet? So when we're installing Hardy, we want to make sure that each board is the exact same height as we work our way up. So these gecko gauges are a great way to do that. So as he's installing, he's making sure that each of these are set at the right spot. Go ahead, Jesse, don't worry about me. And we're going through and putting these on, clipping them underneath, and then that gives us our perfect reveal because the next board just sits on top of it, and we've got our exact same distance every single time as we work our way up. You see the guys have measured out ahead of time what the width of the board is so they can pre-cut everything. It's just a matter of popping it in. Nail gun does great. You just have to make sure you have the right heads, but it's a pretty straightforward process once you get the hang of it. So the boys have done most of this side already, and then we're working our way down. Having everything prepped and ready to go ahead of time makes it awesome. We are doing this on top of our R5 installation, so it's a little bit different than normal installation in that we have to use longer nails to make sure we get all the way through. Because imagine we're going through OSB, we're going through our foam, and then we're into the stud, and we want to make sure we have enough studs. So we're using 3-inch nails for this. Whereas if you were doing it right on OSB, you could use 1.25-inch roofing nails. So just a little bit of a change. When we're doing plugs and we're doing lights and every other penetration, we're making sure that we put our proper trim detail on these. Now these will all be caulked and finished nicely. They're still a little bit rough, but boxing them all out to make sure that we have proper sealant around there so we can put a bead of caulk around the electrical outlet and all the other outlets as well. So that's in a nutshell how you install Hardy. I wouldn't call it that complicated. So we're going to be doing this. We're going to be putting our fascia on and got our eavesdrop on. We want to make sure we're all wrapped up come springtime. On the inside, we're going to be starting on drywall tomorrow. I will quit talking. Let's get into some montage. Let's get into some B-roll, and we'll check that out. Here we go. And just like that, drywall's all complete. We've got our drywall finished, sanded, and now we're working on priming and painting. We've also started floor prep. Now, when we poured the slab, it was a very cold, unusually cold November day. So we've had a bit of blistering on the top of the slab. So we've chipped away any loose concrete that's formed on the top. And we're gonna be using self-level to fill in the gaps. We're doing glue down hardwood flooring. We wanna make sure we have a good solid bonding surface for the hardwood. We don't wanna have any shifting that happens afterwards. So we're working on that. We're also gonna be priming, doing prime check. Now, prime check is very important for those of you who don't know. There's gonna be little imperfections in the drywall that can't be seen at this point, but once you put a coat of paint on it, it becomes very obvious. Give everything a prime, and then the drywall finishers come back and they check everything, touch it all up with a very bright light, and then that allows us to put first coat on and then eventually second coat. But for us, we put first coat on the walls, 2 coats on the ceiling. Because the ceiling's not going to be touched again, we might as well just finish it, and that allows us also to put the electrical in, the pot lights, things like that, and get the place more livable and more hospitable for finishing up construction. So that's going to be the next couple steps this week, and then our hardwood flooring is going to be here very shortly. Be starting to lay that. So we're going gonna be finishing that up, and then we've also started tile, so let me go show you what we're working on there. So here we are in the guest bathroom, already installed our Curdy board. To be honest, I've made a mistake. Our jams are all wood receiver jams, and so this is a piece of pine that's been primed and ready to go. Now, this is not how we normally do it. Normally, I would order the window with a jam receiver, which is this part right here. Then we would install Curdy board into that slot and waterproof everything. I mistakenly ordered all the windows with jams because I forgot that this one's in the shower. So what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna rip this one out. We're gonna be installing our board all the way around and then waterproofing. So we have basically vinyl to tile and everything waterproof behind, so we don't have any issues with moisture ingress over the years. My mistake, we're gonna get this fixed. It's not a big deal. We're gonna do that, waterproof everything, and then we're gonna be starting on tile probably this week as well. So the next couple weeks, we're gonna see big changes. We're gonna have hardwood flooring, we're gonna have tile installed, we're gonna have a coat of paint on everything. The electrician's gonna be here to hook everything up. HVAC is supposed to be hooked up as well. We got our radiant and our heat pump ready to be connected, so we're ready to do that as well. And so we're gonna start to see this place look a lot more finished. We're only 3 weeks away from cabinetry here, so we really gotta get a move on. So let's go. Am I in the glue? Oh, hold on. I'm not ready. Okay, ready, say it again. And it's the next day. Look at this. So this is what a completed waterproof system looks like, at least on the walls. We haven't done the floor yet. That's later today. We've pulled all the old wood out. We've put new Curdy board on, and then we've also wrapped a Curdy band across. So this is what a complete waterproofing system looks like. This is what Schluter tells us to do. And since our boys have training, we follow the instructions. And we've got our corner details all filled out. So this is pretty much ready to go. We're gonna be doing our sand bed in here. So we slope everything towards the drain and then cut the drain off. And then we've got everything set, ready to go for tile, which is actually being delivered tomorrow morning. So we wanna get this done today. Let me show you the other bathroom real quick. We did more of the same. And in here, look at this. This is the bathtub. I'm gonna be very careful not to scratch. But again, we've pulled the old wood jams off, we've waterproofed, and then we've wrapped again in Curdy band to make sure that everything's tickety-boo, ready to go. Everything's prepped, ready to go. Point of controversy in the building community, I think, is whether or not you put corner beads on here. We don't. We've done it before, and what happens is by the time you build it out, you have a little bit of a ridge here. You have to try and float out with the thin set on the tile. So instead, we keep this unfinished. We bring our tile past, and then we flat tape and finish this side. So little details like that can make the difference between an easier install or more difficult. It's not to say that one way's better than the other, but we've had a lot of experience with this now, and we're quite happy with this. The other thing that's going on is hardwood got delivered yesterday, so we've started that. Let me show you what's going on there. So hardwood started yesterday. The boys have been making great progress. Dan's working on this room. What we do is we bring the hardwood down the center of the house, and then we go in both directions. Now, hardwood flooring on a slab on grade is a very particular setup. You cannot do it like regular hardwood. You need engineered hardwood. So the difference is this hardwood here has multiple layers. So there's a finished hardwood layer on top, which can be resanded and refinished should you ever need damage, or long-term if you want to refinish it to a different color. But then it has cross-laminated sheets of plywood inside to make sure that it has the strength required. So this is actually rated for slab on grade, and it's also rated for heated floor. Those are two important details. So we've got that all prepped. Now you cannot nail this down for obvious reasons because it's on concrete. So what we have to use is a special engineered glue. Again, this stuff has all been rated for it, and we spread it all out. Now there's two different ways to go about it. You can either spread out the whole room, let it tack up, and then work your way in, or do it in sections and put down, say, 3 courses of it, and then pop your courses in, and then move on. We've obviously done the ladder. This room's almost wrapped up. Quite happy with the color. There's a lot of variation in the pattern, so it looks pretty good. We've got a couple pieces left to do here. Main hallway's getting finished up today. It's gonna be a couple more days, and we're gonna be on to doors and trim and everything like that. Let's keep the work going, and we'll see you when we're done with that. Another beautiful day here on the Rockland job. Quite a bit has happened. We're not going to be seeing the monumental changes on camera, but we're making a lot of progress on a lot of things. There's a lot of guys here this morning, and I'm quite happy to say. So if you look over here, for example, we've actually cased out all of our windows. We've got all our exterior doors cased out. We've got everything tied in. Still haven't caulked and finished everything. The bulk of the work is done, which is fantastic. We've got our appliance delivery. The cabinetry was picked up this morning. It's actually on the way here now. We're going to start install tomorrow morning. We've got our vanities in. We've got our plumbing fixtures in. So we're really going to be starting to put the finishing touches on this place. Let me show you some of the tile we've been working on, actually, because I'm quite happy with that. What? So here in the main bathroom, we've got our floor down. We've also got our floor and shower. We've been working quite a bit on getting this bench just perfect. So it's always very tricky with these tiles. They call them 2x2, 2" by 2", but they're not always exactly that. And depending on the separation inside the grout lines, it can actually mess with things up. So what we prefer to do is actually lay all of our tiles first and then build our bench around it so that we have a perfect full tile at the edge. Now that this is built, we're gonna be waterproofing it, and then we'll tile it as well to match. And so everything will be perfectly symmetrical, so we're not trying to mess with it after the fact. We still have our walls to do here, but we do have our sill ready to go, all waterproof. This is gonna be quartz along with the top of this to match the countertop. So everything's gonna be tied together. Overall, pretty happy with this. And as well, there's actually a drain in here. You can't quite see it, but this is the drain right here. Again, this is something we do regularly, hidden Schluter drain, so that's pretty good. Let me go and show you the other bathroom. And here in this bathroom, we have, it's actually the same tile on the floor, but a different tile on the wall. So Craig's been working away at mitering all these. You can see the breakfast juice of choice, but he's been mitering all the tiles all the way around the whole perimeter. So he's working on that right now, and should be wrapped up this probably later today, maybe tomorrow at the latest. Overall, pretty happy with this. Like I said, Mandy's ready to go and plumbing fixtures go in, so we just need to get this tile wrapped up. I want to show you the front foyer actually, because there's something interesting there. We're actually using the same tile here in the foyer as we are in the laundry room. So it's a 2x2 tile meant to look like polished concrete. It has a bit of variation, a bit of speckling in it down here. So we've laid it in our nice pattern here. We had to accommodate the fact that there is a kink in the house design, but the great part is guys did a really professional job laying it, and it butts up to our hardwood floor in 2 spots now. So when we lay our tiles down here, the seam between our hardwood and tile, most people would just throw a transition strip in there, but we prefer to have a really tight gap, the same size as the grout line, and then we caulk with latex caulking to allow for a little bit of expansion and contraction. And it's a much cleaner look. Clients are always very happy with that, and I think it's much more professional than just throwing a transition strip on it. So quite happy about that. And then one of the other little features here, we're not doing a ton of this in the house, but we actually have a nice little border. So this is set up to match the bench that is going to be installed here later today. And so we've got our picture frame all worked out. This is just a nice little molding detail, and we're going to match the height of it to the height of the casing on the door here. So we're just waiting to pop the casing in here so that we can do that and get that wrapped up. Let's take a look outside. I want to show you one of the new products we're using for the first time. One of the new products we're trying for the first time is Versetta stone. One of our goals is to make sure our carpenters use as much as we can. Masonry is tricky in its own right, and long term I have issues with its stability. Don't get me wrong, the pyramids are made of masonry, but it's still, I think, a valid point. Versetta stone is a screw-on product. We actually just stick them on like this with screws, and then they've got a tongue and groove method to be able to put that in. I think it looks pretty good, and certainly the price point makes a lot of sense for a lot of our clients. So it comes in with a bottom cap. We put our Versetta stone panels on, and then we put our cap on top of that, and then we'll be able to run our hardy up all the way. The boys started this on Thursday last week, and so they're a day into it, and we've gotten quite a bit done. We're still figuring it out. Overall, we're pretty happy with the product. So Merkley Supply gives that to us here in Ottawa, and they do a pretty good job. And that's going to wrap things up for the Rockland job, episode 3. Hope you've had a good time with us finishing out a house. We're going to be doing our cabinetry counter finishing up, and we're going to wrap this house up in the next 5 weeks. So no more screwing around. We'll see you next time.